So in the last session, we were discussing about the last chapter of fourth module about error reporting in PHP. Okay, so like what are the different types of errors we can get? Okay, then what about warning and all. Then we started discussing about three main error reporting flags. So that is error reporting, display errors, and log errors. These three topics already discussed. Okay, just to summarize. Okay, so here if you want to display any error, you can write in the code error underscore reporting, and you can use this keyword e underscores all. So it will report all the errors and warning message if something goes wrong in the program. Or as you can set this in php.ini file. So there is a file, I showed you this file. In that you have to type this. Okay. And one more is display error. Another way of displaying the error is using this flag. So here you have to either you have to write in the code, you need to set display error 0, or okay, you can also make it as 1 or 0. Okay, so here or else you can go for php ini file. In that you have to write display underscore error on or off. So off means it will not display the error, on means it will display the errors. Last thing is log errors. Okay, in the log errors, this is what you have to write. So if you write like this in the program, ini set log errors 1, then what it will do, it will send all the error messages to a separate server error log file. Okay, other ways you can also write it like this: log errors is equal to on in the php ini file. Okay, so you can also specify your own file name. Okay, instead of server specific file. Okay, XAMPP specific file, you can also specify your own path for storing the log messages, error log messages. So this is a new path you are specifying. Okay, like this you can specify error underscore log, and you can specify the path here, or you can also write in the php ini file, you can write it as error underscore log is equal to specify the name of the path. Okay, this is for sending a message. Okay, if you want to send a message, this is send email. When some error occurs, you can also send email message. Okay, so this is from sender. Okay, from and to email IDs, and this is for sending the message to the file. If you want to send this particular message, this some horrible error has occurred, you have to write this dollar. Okay, message comma 3 comma, okay, this particular log file name. So moving on to the next topic, PHP errors and exception handling. Okay, so PHP, you all know about what is exception. Okay, studied in .NET, right? What is an exception? Okay, what is, how, when an exception occurs, how will you catch an error? How how you will throw an error? Okay, how it is caught? Okay, so then in PHP documentation provides two mechanisms for handling runtime errors. So there are two mechanisms. First one is procedural error handling. Another one is object-oriented exception handling. Okay, there are two mechanisms. In the exam, they may ask you explain PHP error and exception handling. So you have to explain these two methods, or they can also ask you specifically explain procedural error handling. Okay, so first we will discuss about procedural error handling. So in the procedural approach of handling the error, okay, the program need to explicitly test for error condition. Okay, so you are supposed to write the code, okay, in the PHP program for testing the errors. Okay, for explicitly test for error condition after performing every task, okay, that might generate a error. Okay, so this is an example. Imagine that your PHP code is trying to connect to the database. Okay, so we will study how to connect to the database in the lab. Okay, So for time being, this is a function that is used for connecting to the database. Here you will be specifying, okay, then few names like username, host name, then password, database name, and all. You'll be specifying as a parameter for this function MySQLi connect. Okay. Now you are trying to connect it to the database. Okay, something may go wrong. For example, the database name is wrong, or whatever the password and the username you have specified might be wrong. The local host IP address, or if you are specifying the IP address, that particular IP address might not be there. Okay, some error might have occurred. Now, to check that error, you have to write, okay, MySQL underscore connect underscore error. So this function, it's a built-in function. It will check, is there any error in connecting to the database? Okay, so if there is any error, okay, so it will return you, okay, a null value. Okay, null value will be returned. So you can check, you can write the if condition here and check for the error, it is not equal to null, and you can handle the error. You can display the message to the user, some database name might not, or something went wrong while connecting to the database, some error message you can display to the user. Okay, so here you are explicitly writing the error condition. You have to write like this. Okay, if you don't write this line, okay, so there is no way of handling the errors. Now the next one is object-oriented exception handling. Okay, same one more example you can view here. We have come across with ESET. Okay, so you can check whether that particular uh, name or particular name is set to the value. Okay, you have to check ESET. Okay, and you have to write some message if it is not having any value. Okay. Similarly, you can go for this function empty. Okay, you are explicitly writing the code for checking the error condition. Okay. So next one is object-oriented exception handling. Okay. So in this approach, we will be discussing, okay, how to handle runtime error. When the runtime error occurs, how to handle it. So you can, when the runtime error occurs, you can go for PHP through an exception. You can throw an exception, and that exception can be caught and handled either by the function or by the class or some other way. Okay. So if an exception is not caught, okay, so here, if it is not caught, then terminating execution with the message, it will display the message uncaught exception. Okay, so here, let us go through this. So this is the object-oriented approach for exception handling. So exceptions are used to change the normal flow of the script if the error occurs. Okay. So exception is used for handling the errors. Okay. What is an exception? As I already said, it's a new object-oriented way of dealing with the error. So that is why you have the name here, object-oriented exception handling. Okay. So it is a new object-oriented way of dealing with the errors. So here, so exception concept by point. Okay, you should not use like a jump. Okay, because exception, what happens in the case of exception, it will stop the normal execution of the program when some error occurs. Okay, when an exception is thrown, the code following it will not be executed. That is what. Okay, when the error occurs, okay, the code followed by that will not be executed, and the PHP will try to find the matching catch block. This is important. Okay, so it will go and search for the catch block when any error occurs. Okay, If the exception is not caught, okay, what message it will display? An uncaught exception message will be displayed. So this is an example PHP code. The same thing, the same example here I have. See here, we have a function. Okay, function. This is a function name is check num2. Okay, we are when this function when you encounter this function, it will go for this function with the number 2, and here it will check 2 is greater than 1. Okay, 2 is not greater than 1. Correct the condition. Okay, yeah, is greater than 1. Yes, if the condition is true. Okay, so it will enter to the if condition. So in the if condition, what you do, you throw a new exception. Okay, what is that exception? It will display the message value must be 1 or below. Okay, so here what we are doing, when if anything goes wrong, okay, if we are going to enter a number which is greater than 1 or equal to 1, it will throw an exception and it will display some message. Okay, so code above will get an error like this. Okay, what is the error? It is a fatal error. Okay, so what is the error message here? Uncaught exception. Okay, with the message value must be 1 or below. Okay, and it will display the line number. Okay, so and it will display some messages. So here the same example is given. Okay. So you can see here, when you have an exception, whenever something goes wrong, and when you have an exception, you are creating the object of exception. You can see here, you are using new exception. You are throwing an exception. In that case, what happens? Your program will search for the, okay, your program will search for the catch block. Okay, catch block will be searched. Now you can see here we don't have catch block, correct? The exception is not caught. Okay, there is no such catch block here. That is why the exception is not caught and it will display this message. Now let us look into the catch block. Okay. Basically, there are three terms you have to understand here: try, throw, and catch. Okay, to avoid the error from the example above, okay, we need to create a proper code for handling the exception. Okay, you can see here, okay, this exception is not handled here. Okay, now let's see how you can handle that. So we need three parts: try, throw, and catch. What does the try part will do? A function using an exception should be in the try block. So whatever, okay, this exception part, whatever is there, that should be there in the try block. And if the exception does not trigger, the code will continue as a normal flow. Okay. So if the exception does not occur, then the flow will continue. However, if the exception triggers, then the exception is thrown. Okay. So throw, what is throw then? This is how you trigger an exception. Okay. So you trigger exception using throw. Each throw must have at least one catch. Okay. Now you can see here, you are using the keyword throw for triggering the exception. Okay. For every triggering of exception, there should be a catch block, but we don't have the catch block here. Okay. So that is the drawback of this code. Next, catch. A catch is a block that retrieves the exception and creates an object containing the exception information. So let's look into the example. Now in this block, okay, we have try and we have catch. All this part, okay, whatever we have discussed, everything, this three part is there in this program. Okay. So here, whenever an exception is triggered, it is done using the throw. Okay, the similar to this part is similar to your previous program. Okay, here we have, okay, this part, okay, where you are trying to trigger the exception. Okay, you are trying, okay, whether this function will throw an exception. You want to try. Okay, now this is your try part, okay, where you are trying for, okay, you are trying to check whether an error occurs. Okay, so if the exception is thrown, this text will not be shown. Okay, so this text will not be shown if the exception is not thrown. Okay, I mean exception is thrown. Okay, now let's see. You are going for check num2. Okay, same way. So initially the program execution starts. Okay, you have this function block and all. Okay, it first encounters this try statement. So it will enter number 2. It will go to this checking the number 2 is greater than 1. Yes, it is. Yes, it is true. 2 is greater than 1. So you throw an exception with this message. Okay. So what happens when exception occurs? The compiler will search for the catch block. Okay. So it will go to the catch block. Now catch block, what it will do? So here, what is the message you are telling? Value must be 1 or below. So that message will be stored in the object of exception. This is object of the exception with the name $E. Okay. Now here you are displaying the message colon, okay, get the message. So this function, what it will do? It will get this message, whatever you have passed. Okay. So now what it will display? First it will go for the try block. Okay. So it will go for this. Okay. And next what it will do? It will go for the exception, and finally it will go for the catch block. Okay. Now you can see when you execute this particular program, okay, you can see here this message is not displayed. You can see here this is output. Okay, you can see here this message is not displayed because why? This particular 2 will throw the exception, correct? It is throwing the exception. So if it is exception is thrown, this next text will not be displayed. And suppose assume that passing the number as 0.5. Okay, you are passing the number as 0.5 here. Now in that case, what happens? 0.5 is greater than 1. The condition fails. So it will not go to the this if statement, it will not enter, correct? It will come out of the if statement because 0.5 is greater than 1, condition fails. So it will go for the true, return true, it will come to this, okay, it will come to the statement, and finally it will continue with the normal execution of the program. So normal execution, what is the next line? So it will display the message. If you see this, the number is 1 or below, this message will be displayed. Okay. So entirely in this program, what to conclude is, okay, whenever you enter a number which is less than 1, okay, no exception will be thrown. Okay, the program program normal flow will continue. Okay, and suppose if you enter a number which is equal to 1 or greater than 1, an exception occurs and it will be caught by this. All about exception. Okay, the explanation is given here. Okay, so this function is created. It checks if the number is greater than 1. If it is, okay, the exception is thrown. Okay, the function is called in the try block. Exception with the check num is thrown. Catch block will retrieve the message, okay, with the object $E containing the exception information, and error message will be displayed, okay, using this, okay, get message. So that is what is shown here. So this is the program with the catch block and try block. This is one more program which is there in your textbook. Okay, what happens here is, okay, this is your normal execution continues here. Okay, so this is just not the entire program, it is just a code snippet. Okay, small part of the code. So here you are trying for error. Okay, and this PHP code, what it will do, it is connecting to, it is trying to connect to the database. Okay, and if it is able to connect to the database, okay, no problem. Okay, else you are having a throw part, or okay, if something goes wrong, it will go for the or part. Okay, if this is false, if you are not trying to, if you are not able to connect to the database, it will throw an exception with this message error. Okay, so assume that you are not able to connect to the database, it will throw the error. Okay, so in that case, what happens, it will go to this function throw exception. Okay, so throw exception will throw the exception. Okay, so it is having the message, so this is a message. Okay, so it will give some message, that message is nothing but this error message. Okay, and some code will be generated. Okay, and next, once it will throw the exception, okay, next what happens, it will search for the catch part. The catch part is having the message. Okay, it will display the message, it will display the line number. Okay, and it will give the trace information. Okay, so this is stack trace. Okay, it will display all the error information. Okay. So there is one more thing, finally. So what is this finally? So finally is a PHP code here that will be executed after try or catch. Okay, after try or after catch, finally, okay, the final part, okay, will be executed, which is there inside this finally keyword. Okay. This is one more, okay, where you are trying to throw an exception. So with the message invalid date. Okay, this is one more. And this is one more where you are having the try part and the catch part. And this program, what you can see here, if you can see here, inside the catch, again you have throw statement. Again you have throw. Actually what happens, you are having throw, okay, new exception. Okay, so whenever the exception occurs, some message will be there. Whenever the exception occurs, it will come to the catch part. Okay, now usually inside the catch part, it will catch the exception. Okay, now what is happening is inside the catch block, again you have one more throw. So that is called as rethrowing the exception. So this is example for rethrowing the exception. Okay. So the next example is, next concept is custom error and exception handling. Okay. So previously we discussed about object-oriented approach for handling the errors. So this is custom errors and exception handlers. Okay. So here we are using a function. Okay, that is a built-in function that is called as a set exception handler function. That's a user-defined function to handle all uncaught exceptions. Let's see here. You can go through this. Okay. So neatly they are given few examples for try, catch and all. So here set exception handler function sets a user-defined function to handle all uncaught exceptions. So now what you can do, okay, whenever an exception is thrown, okay, you are calling a function that is a user-defined function. This is a user-defined function. You can see here, you are specifying the function. Okay, what is that name? My exception. Okay, so inside that what happens? It will display the error message. Okay, let's see here. So here you can see in this code we don't have any catch block. Instead, the top level exception handler is triggered. Okay, we don't have any catch block. Okay, when you throw an exception, okay, with this message, okay, it is not searching for any catch. We don't have any catch, but instead we are having a statement, that is we are having a function set exception handler, which will call a function, a user defined function, my exception. So what does that will do? So that will display the message exception, which is in bold, colon, okay, exception get message. What is that message you have passed? Uncaught exception occurred. So that will be displayed here. Exception colon uncaught exception has occurred. So this function should be used to catch the uncaught exception. So this is the function we are using. So this is an example. So here actually what happens is in this program, okay, we will be having a statement. Okay, somewhere we are having a statement set exception handler. Okay, I don't write complete. Set exception handler, and inside that you are specifying the name of this function. So this function name will be specified. Now here, okay. So before that, you will be having one more statement, that is throw, okay, new exception, and some message will be given in the bracket. Okay. So whenever an exception occurs, okay, it will go for, it will not search for any catch block will not be there here. So it will go for set exception handler. Inside that you will be specifying this function name, my exception handler. So you can see here what we are doing. Here we are displaying. You can access different using this exception object. This is the object of the exception. Okay, you can give $E, $exe, whatever any name you can give. Okay, so here what we are doing is using this object we can access some built-in code, built-in functions. Okay, one built-in function is get code, so it will generate a particular code for this error message. So this will get the message which you have written here. Okay, next it will get the line number. Okay, get the file. So many information it will display, and this what it will do, it will send the message whatever you have written here. Okay, this is this is for concatenation. Okay, everything will be combined. Okay, so this entire message where it will be having exception number and okay, code name, file name, everything will be sent as a message from this email ID to this email ID. Okay, and here there is one more. Okay, we are checking whether the code generated is equal to this particular, it is not equal to this particular code. Okay, if exception serious, then stop execution until maintenance something. Okay, so here some code, if it is not equal to this, you can display this. There are different types of code. Okay, so if particularly if it is not equal to this, then you can display sorry the system is down for maintenance. Okay. So if this particular code, okay, if it is equal to this particular code, then only you can send an email message, or else what you can do, you can simply display the message. It is not an error. It is just for maintenance. The system is down. Okay. So here in custom error, you have a built-in function where you are specifying the name of the function here. And whenever an exception is thrown, this particular function will be called and this function will start executing. Okay, there is no such try, catch and all here. Okay, only thing is a user defined function will handle all the exceptions. Okay, and display the relevant messages. So this is all about your fourth module. Okay, this completes your fourth module. In the fourth module, we have discussed about PHP arrays and global arrays. Okay. Dollar $get, dollar $post, dollar $server, dollar $files. Okay. Then we started discussing about the concept of PHP classes, the object-oriented concept about PHP classes, polymorphism, encapsulation, abstract class, inheritance. Okay, and then finally we discussed about how to handle the errors in PHP. Okay, what are the different ways you can display the error messages? Okay, what are the two types of error handling? So all these three topics we discuss on under module. So moving on to the next one. The next we'll start with our fifth module. So in the fifth module, we have three chapters. So, first chapter is about some advanced concept about PHP and all. Okay, like PHP state, then more about query string. Okay, about cookies, serialization, sessions, and all we'll be discussing. Okay. Next chapter we'll be discussing about uh, advanced JavaScript concepts and a new advanced JavaScript. In that we'll be discussing about client-side scripting language, jQuery, okay, and more about Ajax. Okay, a few examples about Ajax. And finally, last chapter we'll be discussing about XML concepts. Okay, so here we'll be discussing about few web services like JSON, SOAP, and all. So this topic of fifth module. Okay, it is more about advanced topics. Okay, so here they have highlighted a few advanced topics, not in detail. Okay, few examples they have given for jQueries and Ajax and all, and for even for model view controller framework also they have given few examples. Okay, so these are the chapters. Chapter 13, managing state. 15, advanced JavaScript and jQuery. Chapter 17, it is about XML and web services. Okay, so we shall start with the first chapter, managing state. Now we know that there are two types of applications, okay, two types of softwares. So one is uh, our desktop application. So and more is uh, browser application or web application. There are two types of application, desktop and web application. Okay. So in the desktop application, usually what happens is, okay, you will be having your software installed in the desktop or in a laptop. Okay. So whatever the data will be stored in the system. Okay. So here desktop memory, we are storing all the files. If you can see here, we are storing in the desktop memory all the files or all the relevant resources will be stored in the desktop memory. Okay. So desktop application, we are sending the request. Okay. So the request will be processed and it will be taking the help of desktop memory for accessing the data. And finally, after processing, it will display the message. Okay, in the case of desktop application, so it is very simple. Okay, every entire software and entire data will be there in the desktop. Okay, but whereas when you come to web application, okay, so we are getting, okay,
For example, if you see in a website, our own website, if you see the VCT website, okay, so many people will be accessing our website, correct? So many students will be accessing our websites, okay. Many requests will come. So at particular point of time, there might be several requests coming for the particular page or for different pages, correct? So here, some user X might be requesting for home page, and user Y may be requesting for contact us page. And similarly, user Z may be at the same point may be requesting for same home page. So here, there will be so many requests coming from different users. Okay. Now here, it is very important how our web server will handle those requests. Okay, you can see here, we are not storing the data or any resources in any desktop. We are storing all the resources in the web server memory. Okay, all the pages, everything will be stored in the web server memory. Okay. If single person, okay, if alone one person, if he is using the web application website, then there is no problem. Okay, if a single user is using the website, there is no problem as such. He will be sending the request will be processed, and that request response will be shown to that particular user. But in our website web application, that is not the scenario. So many people will be using the websites. Okay. So websites will be having series of disconnected HTTP requests to the web server, where each request for the web server page essentially a request to run a separate program. So that means the request may come for running a separate program. One may be requesting a save.php, another may be requesting for open.php. So they may be requesting for separate HTTP request. Okay. Now look at this. So look at this one. Okay. The left side diagram. So here there is only one user. The user name is user X. Okay. He is initially the particular one person user X is requesting for two pages. One is index page, another one is product.php page. Okay, that request is coming from the same user, correct? Same user X is requesting two page. Now, our web server should have such a capacity that we should distinguish that two requests from one source. Okay, distinguish two requests by one source from two requests from two different sources. Okay, now here the user X is requesting, okay, two different pages. Okay, the web server should have the capacity to analyze that these two requests are coming from the same user. Another point is the web server should also have the capacity to distinguish that the same here there are two users, okay, user X and Y. They are requesting two separate pages. Now here the web server should have the capacity to understand that there are two requests and they are coming from two different users. And here it should understand that two requests are coming from the same user X. So that capacity should be there for the web server. Okay. Next one is, look at this. Okay. So here there are two requests. Okay. One request is adding the product. Okay. Assume that you are the user. You are adding the product to the cart. Okay. You are added item 1, item 2. Okay. 3 items you have added to the cart. Next one is you are going for the checkout page. Okay. Now your web server should have the capacity to connect to, okay, you should have the capacity to connect to request together, correct, right? You are the one, you yourself is adding the item to the cart, and you are the one who are going for the checkout page, correct? Now there is a connection between these two pages. Correct, right? This is adding to the cart and this is for the payment. There is a connection between these two requests. Now this web server should have the capacity to connect to this request, and it should understand that these requests are coming from the same user, and it should connect to these two requests. Okay. So that is here you are highlighting what are the problems in the state of web application. Okay. So here in this we are in this topic we are analyzing what are the problems that a web application may come across. Okay. So these are the problems. Okay. Understanding that the request is coming from the same user, understanding that the request is coming from the different user, understanding that there should be a connection between two requests. Everything is a big challenge for the web server. Okay. So the next one is state in the web application. Okay. Or what are the different information passing mechanisms? So what are the mechanisms available in HTTP to pass information to the server? Okay, so here you have your browser, which is a client. Okay, you have a server, web server. Okay, protocol used is HTTP. Okay, now what is the mechanism that is available within HTTP to pass information to the server? From the client, if you want to pass any information to the server, what are the different ways? Okay, there are two important things we'll be discussing. One is query string, another one is cookies. Okay, so there are two concepts here we'll be discussing. So we all know about the query strings. Okay, so this is our client. The entire thing is a client. If you want to send this information, whatever you have entered, okay, artist, year or nationality, okay. So if you are using, there are two ways. Either you can go for method get or you can go for method post. Okay. If you are going for the method get, okay. So here the information will be sent in the form of query string, name and value, pair separated by ampersand. Correct, right? Here we are having ampersand. Okay, but this is not a secured way of transferring the information, because this is query string, whatever you pass will be displayed in the browser URL. Okay, along with the URL you can see this. There is one more way, post method, where this entire query string will not be available to the user. Okay, we cannot see that, but it will be pasted in the HTTP header. Okay, in the protocol there are three parts: header, body and footer. Okay, so in the header part you will be having this query string information which will not be visible to the user. So that is a query string. Okay, this is one way of passing the information to the server. So whatever the information you are given, Picasso, year 1906 and Spain, so this information will be sent to the server. Okay, using query string by using either get or post method. Okay, so this is one way of transferring the information. Okay. Now here you have to understand two things. One is a dynamic URL, another one is static URL. So whatever the URL you see here, okay, the URL, whatever something like this with the query string, those URLs are called as dynamic URL. So dynamic URLs are the one with the query string parameters. Okay, so the one with the query string. What is static URL? Okay, the static URL is the one which is not having query string, not having query string. Okay. Now, if we see here, The question may come, which one is better, whether dynamic URL is better or the query string is, static URL is better. From the perspective, your search engine perspective, okay, the static URL is the best. Okay, so here you can see here, I'm searching for some content. Okay, it is your search engine. Okay, is displaying the result. Okay, if you see here, these three are static URLs. Okay, static URL. Okay, the last one. Okay, so there are how many pages? In the first page, you are getting few information. The below it is displaying the URL, that is dynamic URL. That is the one which is having the query string. Okay. Now you can see here. Okay, when you are searching for some result, it is showing, the search engine is showing the URLs. The static URL will be come in the first. Okay, so first top, at the top it will be displaying all the static URLs, and then the next priority it will be giving for the dynamic URL, the one which is having the query string. Okay, so that is a drawback. Okay, or you can say that is how, that is why we are not supposed to go for the dynamic URL. Okay, so dynamic URL will be given less priority by the search engine, and static URL will be given more priority. Okay, so there is a mechanism called as URL rewriting. Okay, what is URL rewriting? It is a form of converting your static URL into dynamic URL or vice versa. Okay, so this conversion from static to dynamic or dynamic to static, okay, it is possible. Okay, you can convert, assume that, okay, let us see this example. Okay, so this is example is for a dynamic URL, correct? It is having query string. What is this query string? Artist is equal to 16. It's a query string, correct? So after question mark, you are having a name and value field. So this is a dynamic URL. Okay. Now this is a static URL for this particular page. This dynamic URL is converted into static URL. How it is there? Somedomain.com slash artist slash this value, whatever is there, that is given as what? 16.php. So this dynamic URL is converted into static URL. So that mechanism is called as URL rewriting. Okay. This is one more example for static URL. Okay. So how you can do the conversion in your Apache or Linux? Okay. So assume that you have certain dynamic pages. Okay, you want to convert it into static pages. So you can make use of these two modules. Okay, you have to make use of module rewrite module, which is available in the XAMPP. Okay, in the Apache server, this module is available. You have to use this module. Okay, the functions available in this module, and you have to make use of this file. Okay, so in this module we will be having a rule-based rewriting engine that uses Perl compatible query string to change the URL. For converting from static to dynamic or vice versa, it will be making use of what? Your regular expression concept. Okay, so that concept will be used for converting uh, the static, dynamic URL into static URL. Okay. So that is all about uh, passing information using query string. Okay. The next concept is cookies. So cookies we'll discuss in the next session.